When I got this diagnosis of leukemia, I didn't physically say, "Oh my God, this is terrible. I'm going to die." That's not a big surprise. And whether it's now or whether it's 20 years from now or 30 years from now or a week from now, whatever, it's like it's just a speck in infinity. I mean, I know I'm a parenthesis in eternity. I mean, I know that, and we all do. But there was my over-identification with my ego and my body, and this is who I really am, and I am my work, and I've done all of these things, and that's not fair, and all of that stuff. Subconsciously, I just went to a place internally called fear. And as I said, the Course says it's either fear or love. And everything that is fear can't be love. Everything that's love can't be fear. So it's like, how do you get rid of the fear? Even if it's subconscious fear, how do you get rid of that? Oh my God. You know, I'm being told things that you have to slow down, and you can't overexert, and you can't have heat, too much heat, and you have to rest more, and you're going to have night sweats, and you're going to get more fatigued, and it's like this whole pile of stuff that just gets thrown at you, and then people send you information about someone who just died of what you have, you know, which is always wonderful, you know. So I had like a perfect storm happen to me. Perfect storm is when just all of these things seem to come together and coalesce like perfectly, right? And I received a letter from this woman. Her name is Mira Kelley, and she heard that I had leukemia because CBS News did a whole big story on it right around Thanksgiving time, so it was broadcast all over the world. And then, of course, there's this thing called the internet. You type my name in on the internet, on Google, and like 4.5 million things come up. Seriously, 4.5 million things about me on there. See, I can't imagine 4.5 million things about me being out there. I can hardly remember, you know, what I had for breakfast, and there's 4.5 million things about me. Anyway, so anyway, she heard about this, and she wrote me a letter, and she came to Maui, and she did a past life regression with me, and she also brought me something off the internet about a near-death experience of a woman named Anita M. So all of this stuff happened at one time. I'm really rushing through this now. So she came, she did this past life regression with me, which was, and I write all about this in Wishes Fulfilled. It's in the last chapter of it. And I go back into this, I don't know about back, because there's no forward, there's no back, but I go into this new realm. And I'm this old man, and I'm in a cave, and there's this light, and it's so intense. I can tell you what I was wearing. I can tell you everything about it as if I'm reliving this thing. And I've got a son, and my son is he's filled with anger and hate because he wants to get revenge on something that happened to his mother, my wife, and I'm trying to get him to step into the light and to see that if you just get into this light is just pure love, and I'm screaming and begging. She recorded this whole thing. I mean, it's him to just see the light, just step into the light. In the light, there's none of this. You don't have to have that. It's all, and he won't. And so I remember what the picture is like. And then her mother, she's from Bulgaria, and her mother's from Bulgaria, and she sends me a picture a few months later of a man in Bulgaria whose name is Peter Deunov. Peter Deunov is this giant spiritual master who was born in 1864, died in 1944 when I was 4 years of age. And he was teaching something called divine love. And Albert Einstein, the great Albert Einstein, said, "The whole world bows before me." This is when he came out with his theory of relativity and so on. He said, "The whole world bows before me, and I bow before Peter Deunov," the master Peter Deunov. D-E-U-N-O-V, Peter Deunov. You might want to check him out. And he speaks about divine love. So she sent me this picture of Peter Deunov, and I and on it's a big book like this with all kinds of pictures of his life and so on. And I look at this picture, and that's who I was in this regression. I mean, it was exactly, as soon as I looked at it, I went back, and my knees got weak, and I realized, and he was alive for 4 years of my life. So this is simultaneity. Somebody doesn't have to be dead in order to be. In fact, it's a little strange, and we could go there. I'd love to talk about this, but it's like you can be in anybody's life at any time, just like in your dream state. It doesn't require a linear thing. Somebody doesn't have to die in order for somebody to come back in incarnation and so on. It's all one, folks. It's all one. It's all one. Then, tomorrow, all now. It's all now. Hard to get because you're trying to process this with something that did begin and does end. But the parentheses, that's just eternity, this little parentheses. Eternity is always. Okay? So, Peter Deunov becomes this, and as I look read Rumi, and Peter Deunov was talking about the paneurythmia, that he did a lot of the dervish kinds of things and the walking. And when when the Nazis came into Bulgaria, and occupied them, there were 48,000 Jews in Bulgaria. And the Tsar of Bulgaria at that time in 1943 was in hiding. And he was the only one who could stop the deportation of 48,000 Jews who were being sent to Auschwitz. They were getting ready to be boarded on trains to be sent to Auschwitz. And someone came to Peter Deunov and told him this. This was in 1943, the year before he died, a few months before he died. He left because the Nazis were looking for him, because they were so offended and threatened by what he taught. And they ask Peter Deunov, where is the Tsar? If he gives the instruction not to send them, they won't be sent. But no one can find him because he's in hiding. And he closed his eyes, and he named a city. I don't know what the city was. There's some people from Bulgaria here, they may know. I just read this not too long ago, and Mira has told me about this. And he named the city, and they went to that city, and there was the Tsar hiding in that city, and he gave the order. And the 48,000 people, there wasn't one Jew sent to one concentration camp from the country of Bulgaria for the whole time of the occupation, because of Peter Deunov. This is the consciousness that I'm speaking about, okay? So, in this past life regression, that happened to me, and then she brought me this information about this woman named woman named Anita M., who I looked up and found her. Then she was from Hong Kong. She happened to be in Dubai giving a talk that day. It was on her birthday, and I asked the people at Hay House to contact her. I want her story. Her story is written in a book called Dying to Be Me. And this is a woman who was down to 82 pounds, who had had 5 years of lymphoma. These were her last hours. Her organs had all shut down, and she was departing. And she was watching as they wheeled her into into the emergency room in Hong Kong. She was watching the whole thing from above, and saw herself given the option of coming back or not. And she did. And she, within 4 days, 60% of her tumors had been shrunk, and within 4 weeks she was cancer-free. They couldn't even find a place to get an autopsy or to get a biopsy for her cancer. And today she's cancer-free. I just spoke with her in London and in Scotland. I wrote the foreword to her book. I really encourage you to read it. In fact, true story, last night I got a message on my phone that Ellen DeGeneres wants to talk to me. Many of you may know that I married Ellen and Portia de Rossi. They asked me to officiate at their wedding. And so I called Ellen last night, and I talked to her for about a half an hour, and she said, my mom fell, and she broke her back. She's 82 years old, and she said the only person that she will talk to and listen to is you. And would you call her? So I talked to her mom, Betty, for close to an hour last night. I got to remember to send a bill for that. That was on my little phone there. And I gave her the whole I am thing and so on. So it's this this ability to heal ourselves. And by the way, she read Dying to Be Me. That's what I wanted to say. Ellen not only read it, but her mother had read it. And her mother told me, she said, it gave me a completely, totally different outlook on the ending of life as we know it. And she was just totally at peace with it. And she even said after we talked for a half an hour, I feel so much better already. And I said, you're on your way to healing. So, the third part of this perfect storm, other than Mira and Anita, was John of God. And a woman, a doctor, a medical doctor named Rina Piskova, who's an eye surgeon, was going down to Abadiânia in Brazil, and she was going to visit with John of God, because she had been there a few years back. Now, John of God is this person who has done this kind of healing. He doesn't do it himself. He has these entities enter into his body, and they do this healing. And some of you may think this is weird and strange, and if you're watching, it is. Oprah did an entire show on it, and in fact, I was talking to Oprah about it on the show I just did with her recently. And the day after we finished that interview, or 2 days after that, she flew down there herself to experience this. But she had sent a crew down there, and nobody can explain what is going on here with these entities that enter in and do this incredible kind of healing to over 40 million people. He is working. He could take a room like this with, say, 400 or 500 people in it, and do a when these entities enter in, and go through every single person in this room in 1 second. And so it's you have to have a mind that's open to everything and attached to nothing to understand this. But this was a turning point in my life. And I didn't go down to Abadiânia because I was writing, and I just didn't want to stop my writing. And so she went anyway. And she called me when she got down there and said, if you will have a picture taken of yourself dressed in white, from the front and from the back, and from the side and from the side, take all four. And if you will take these herbs, and if you will drink this blessed water, and if you will follow the instructions, John of God will do he'll have the entities visit you. I was in Maui. John of God was in Brazil, 7-hour time difference. And who am I to say no to that? It was a wonderful opportunity. I just love this Rina Piskova lady, medical doctor, because she just was obsessed with my needing to have this experience for this healing. To make this much shorter, it was a Thursday night. He told me to go to sleep at this particular time. When you go to bed at night, wear white. Have the water, take the herbs. She had the herbs FedExed up to me so that I would have them, so that, because the first time he said no, until I'm taking the herbs. Then I took the herbs, sent it again the following week, and he agreed to do it. I went to bed. Serena, come on up here, honey. I woke up the next morning after the, you can sit here, baby. So she told me, they told me, when she called me, she said, now you've had surgery, and you have to sleep for the next 24 hours. This was now at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And I said, Raina, I'm not tired. I can't go back and sleep for 24 hours. She said, you must do this. And you must follow. It's no different than if you've had your spleen taken out. She said, it's that kind of surgery. And I said, okay. But when I hung up, I said, I'm going for my walk in the morning. I'm going to do that. It wasn't. So I went for a walk, and I got about 200 yards. And I collapsed. I could hardly get back into my home. And I just kind of walked in. Serena was there, my son Sans was there, and they helped me get back into bed, and I slept for 24 hours. And for the next week, I was practically immobilized. They brought me a little bit of soup. I couldn't eat. I just was, because I swim every day and I do yoga, and actually I'd given up yoga after I had the diagnosis of leukemia. I just gave it up because they told me I couldn't do that, and something inside of me bought into that. So they said the following Thursday, you will have the sutures removed. I know. This is what Oprah said too. The what? There are no sutures, but that's what they call it. They're spiritual sutures, okay? So again, I knew how sick I had been for the previous week, and how weak I had been, and how unable to do practically anything. But I still had some whole questions about sutures being taken out in the middle of the night. And then she warned me. She said, when this happened to her, she said it was like there was an earthquake in the room. She said, if you have things on high shelves, she said, take it off, because the room is going to shake. She said, these entities will enter into your room, and they will be there, and they will be working on you. And I said, okay. And I wore white, and I put the water in there, and I went to bed. My kids said, the ghosts are going to come in. They were giving me crap about this for sure. And so I went to sleep that night, and I came out in the morning, and it was I called this friend of mine. Her name is Carrie. She was getting on a flight. She was flying over to Honolulu, and she said, so how did it go last night? How did it go? I said, well, it's 8 o'clock or whatever. No, it's only 7:15. And she said, no. She said, it's 8 o'clock. I'm getting on a plane right now. I said, it's not 8 o'clock. I said, I'm looking right at my watch. It's 7:15. She said, no, I'm telling you, it's 8 o'clock. And I had just gotten this brand new watch that this one encouraged me to get. It's called a Panerai, and it costs like more than my first house cost. And I didn't want to get it, but she just insisted that I get it because she really wanted my other watch. Basically, that's what it was. Because I think there are other reasons for all of this. At any rate, I looked at my watch, and my watch, which had been guaranteed to never lose or gain a second either way, for like the next 20 years, they'll give you your money back if it doesn't work perfectly, and so on. It's one of these guaranteed, like atomic watches or something, I don't know. It was just shattered. It just stopped working in the middle of the night. And it had always kept perfect. I'd only had it about a month or so, but it had kept absolute perfect time, and it was shattered. And by the way, it didn't work anymore. The next day it did the same thing. It had lost like 40 minutes or so. So I walked out, and I said, can you believe it, my watch? And then I asked Serena to come up so that she could describe to you what happened that morning. Go ahead.
Well, he came out of his room, and Sans and I were already up, and he came out and he looked insane. Actually, he came out and he was wearing these white pants, and they completely fell off, naked, right in front of me. So that was like a really awful experience for me. But he lost his pants, and he was like holding up his pants with one hand, and he was saying, you're just so beautiful. I love you so much. And my little boy, you're so beautiful. I love you guys so much. You're the best kids in the world. And we were both like, what were you doing in there? And his eyes were all red, and he was like red looking. And then I looked at him and I said, you have stuff in your eyes. And he had like this, it looked like if you had taken a Kleenex and put some of it in your eye, he had like white tissue. Like in his eye.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it was sick. And so I had to like help him get it out. But anyways, he was just acting crazy, and he looked crazy, and he was just like, kept telling us how much he loved us.
So, from that moment on, I believe at this point, looking back on it, fear had been taken out of me, and that day, when I was getting ready to go walk, because I hadn't been to yoga now for 11 months since I'd had the diagnosis. I do Bikram yoga, which is hot yoga, and I was told you can't overheat yourself. And there was a literal voice. You said I didn't have any pupils, didn't you? Wasn't there?
Oh yeah, his eyes looked like there was no pupils.
So I heard a voice say inside of me, you can go to yoga, you have no reason to not go to yoga anymore. And I started to go to walk, and it was like this internal said, no, you can go to yoga now. You can go back and do that. So I went back to yoga, and then I started doing yoga 4 or 5 times a week. It was like I had lost not 1 minute of it. My 71st birthday was a few days later, and I went out and gave away money to homeless people in San Francisco. I had flown to there to do a movie. And that's all I wanted to do. And I was just sobbing internally with just this joy of everyone that I would see, these people that no one would want to touch, who had looked like their clothes hadn't been washed and had these horrible odors and, dirty. And so I would wrap my arms around them and feel this incredible love for them. It was like I had been infused with, and what I believe that these entities did, because how can you put sutures on leukemia? Leukemia is a cancer of the blood. I mean, that's a lot of sutures. In every place that there's leukemia in you, it's in every drop of blood you have. What they did is they took the fear away, and they replaced it with this love, and allowed me to. And it's been that way. It's been now almost. It was 2 years. It was Grandma's 95th birthday when all of this took place. It was April the 21st, a year ago, April the 21st, and that expression and that feeling of love is so powerful and so overwhelming.